Here's a report national, and then we'll go around. You guys can give quick offices reports around what we've been working on. So
if you guys can do me a favor, just give
translation.
a few sentences, and then let me, as opposed to go into like a long.
No problem.
Just give me some time. Entonces vamos a empezar con los reportes de Canadá, de cada ciudad, de cada oficina. Okay.
First 5 months nationally, we have 350 full members. 157 recurring donor bank drafts, and internally all the offices combined have raised $49,955 off the campus. Here's those numbers.
49,900. Ok, entonces en este momento, desde ahora, en este momento de este año, del 1 de enero, tenemos 350 nuevos miembros que pagan la cuota de 15 a 30 dólares por mes, 157 que dan donaciones mensualmente, y en estos primeros 6 meses hemos levantado fondos de $49,935 en estos primeros 6 meses.
So Nova Scotia, who isn't represented today, but a quick office report from them is that they've signed up 25 full members, 16 associate members. They've had 32 events, turned out 338 people, and fundraised $3,495 and have 3 golden eggs. This is the first of our expansion offices.
Sorry, 3,900.
That's right. Campus.
Ok, entonces una de estas es nuestra primera oficina de expansión que queda en Nova Scotia. Ellos no están acá, los organizadores no están acá de Nova Scotia, pero para reportar sobre su trabajo han registrado 25 nuevos miembros que pagan la full members, le decimos, miembros que pagan la cuota mensualmente. 16 que han dado una donación una vez, 32 eventos con 338 gente que han participado en los 32 eventos, y en total han levantado fondos de $3,495 este año.
Montreal, they've signed up 11 full members, 122 associate members at $830. They've had 6 events, turned out 18 people, and raised $3,767 and have 12 golden eggs or recurring donors, monthly contributions.
Entonces en Montreal tenemos 11 nuevos miembros, 122 miembros asociados que han contribuido $830, 6 eventos, 18 personas que han participado, $3,767 fondos levantados, y 12 gente que dona mensualmente, 12 personas.
And you'll hear from our main big offices, Toronto, Ottawa, and BC, in a few minutes when I'm finished.
Y ahora después vamos a hablar un poco más de cada oficina en Canadá.
So with our other expansion projects, Calgary, want me to do this? You want to do this?
No, you.
I'll do it. Calgary, we've hired 3 people who are summer students. Winnipeg, we have 3, maybe 4 summer students starting. And Nova Scotia has 4 staff now, although financially we're in a bit of a situation there.
Entonces, tenemos en el otro programa de expansión, los proyectos de expansión, tenemos 3 organizadores en la ciudad de Calgary, tenemos 4 organizadores en la ciudad de Winnipeg. Son estudiantes que trabajan para el verano, y en Nova Scotia tenemos 4 organizadores, pero estamos teniendo varios problemas con la oficina de Nova Scotia en términos de poder continuar con fundiendo eso.
So new national grants, the one that we are moving into is our OPC. Do you want to talk a bit about that for like 2 minutes?
In English and Spanish, I guess.
Yeah.
So, okay, voy a hablar un poco en la dos lenguas ahora. So we're moving into this OPC grant, which we got last year. It's a government grant that we received to provide.
Hi. Excuse me, I'm just going to see if you have it from the...
Oh, what room do you want this built on?
It was Suyapa's
Suyapa's
room,
room.
what's the number?
What's your room number?
¿Quién cuarto tenemos? 517. 517.
517. Okay, everything is okay for you?
Oh, but it's great.
Perfecto.
Okay.
Sí.
Have a
Gracias.
good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the OPC grant, so it's basically a grant that we received by the Privacy Commissioner's Office to provide digital literacy workshops on privacy. And those are the main, and so I'm putting together all the workshops and everything together for that, so it's coming pretty good.
And we're gonna have that's what we're gonna be talking about it
And we're gonna be,
too,
yeah,
in detail.
and
So
we will be
you-
discussing that more in detail.
You know, Atkinson, we get one more round at Atkinson.
Also, should I probably explain that in Spanish too?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Entonces lo que estoy diciendo es que recibimos un poco de fondos del gobierno para poder hacer unos programas, unos workshops, ¿cómo se dice? Unos talleres acerca de nosotros le decimos como la alfabetización digital, porque mucha gente no tiene esa oportunidad de conocer cómo usar el internet y todo eso, entonces nosotros vamos a tener estos talleres en tres ciudades acerca de eso, entonces eso lo vamos a hablar más tarde en el grupo de Canadá.
So Atkinson's closing out. The other one is the Alan Walks U of T National Partnership Grant, which he's finally submitted, which could help support the local offices like Nova Scotia. Montreal could really use the money, but there's also money for the other offices as well.
Entonces estamos buscando otros fondos en otros diferentes
Most of them.
fundaciones canadienses para ver si nos puede dar un poco de plata para poder seguir con el trabajo en otras oficinas y especialmente en Nova Scotia, en que estamos teniendo muchos problemas de financiamiento.
There's also a partnership with University of Ottawa on digital literacy grants that will be a little bit of money for Ottawa and Toronto coming down the tubes.
Y también Ottawa pudo acertar un poco de fondos de una de las universidades para poder también hacer el mismo tipo de cosas de la alfabetización digital, y eso ayudará un poco con la oficina de Ottawa.
So campaign reports, I'll keep these quick because we're having a bigger discussion this afternoon, but Internet for All, we've had exciting movements fighting for affordable internet for people across Canada. We submitted 400 testimonials in a big binder from our members to the government, and demanded that they allow us to be included in the submission, the oral hearings that they were doing. And as a result of that, we got 10 spots for our members across the country, which was, you know, way more. Every other organization got 1 spot, and we got 10, so that was pretty significant. So we did these Skype conferencing across the country from the 10 members about talking about how internet is not a luxury, that it's a necessity now and people need it.
Okay, so en Canadá estamos trabajando en esta campaña nacional, pero vamos a hablar un poco más de esto más tarde, esta tarde, pero bien rápidamente. Hemos tenido progreso acerca de nuestra campaña que se llama Internet para Todos, porque lo que identificaron como un problema fue el problema de no tener internet en la casa en Canadá y para poder encontrar trabajo y todo este tipo de cosas. Entonces lo que hicimos a través del año es pudimos juntar unos 400 testimoniales y lo solicitamos al gobierno, y el gobierno nos dio unas 10 plazas, unos 10 lugares para poder presentar al gobierno acerca de esta campaña y acerca de lo difícil que es para poder avanzar en la vida económica en Canadá sin internet en casa.
So the testimonials were awesome, and at the end of the day that we did them, 2 days later, the chair of the CRTC, the National Commission, announced that it was no longer a question whether the high-speed internet should be classified as a basic objective, which was one of our major demands. So that was kind of step one of the victory, and now we're waiting 2 months for them to squirrel around and decide how they want to address that. So we're kind of in a waiting phase and figuring out what we're going to do.
Entonces la presentación que hicieron nuestros miembros a este comité que está tratando están decidiendo ver si los servicios de internet deben ser algo básico para los canadienses. Lo que pasó 2 días después de la presentación de nuestros miembros, salió el jefe de este comité para decir que sin duda realmente es una necesidad tener internet para poder avanzar y que es una necesidad importante para la gente. Entonces lo que ahora estamos esperando es por los próximos 2 meses. Ahora el comité está decidiendo si va a ser categorizado como un servicio básico, que sería una victoria para nosotros.
There was a very moving story at the board meeting about the testimony. I guess everybody probably knows that. In fact, the new member from Ottawa broke down telling the story. Does everybody know this story?
I don't know.
One of the members testifying on the Skype told about her, I think it was 7-year-old child coming and asking if it'd be okay if he was put over to a foster family because he might have a better chance of getting a computer and internet.
¿Sabe? Uno de los testimoniales que hizo uno de los miembros.
Unbelievable.
Uno de los miembros vino a decir que su hijo de 7 años le vino a decir a la madre que por favor, si era posible que me pongan en una casa en otra casa, vivir con otra familia para poder tener acceso a una computadora e internet para que pueda para asegurar que le vaya mejor en la escuela.
And Giselle just started weeping again,
Oh,
telling
yeah.
the story. It was-
Y
And I did
So
too. And it was like,
emotional
oh my
at the
God, can you
hearing.
believe
Yeah.
that?
Y la madre, que la miembra, empezó a llorar ahí en la reunión.
She left the hearings because she was upset.
I mean, it was just
Yeah.
such a moving story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You'd have to be an American not to be moved by that story.
right. Well, and the chair, I mean, that was the whole thing, is
Yeah.
the chair came out in the Globe and Mail saying that he was really personally affected by not the testimonials, but by the stories and things that the organizations around anti-poverty had spoken about. So,
Sí, que salió el jefe y eso exactamente, que él puede ser de que hablaron nuestros miembros de este comité, salió para decir en el diario que sí realmente esas historias realmente, esos testimoniales realmente le costaron, le hicieron pensar mucho de la importancia de este tema.
and we're still figuring out next steps, but one of the things we talked about at the board meeting is following up with a letter to the corporate telecom companies, just to revisit and remind them that they need to act now, and then publishing their responses on our website and in any paper we can get to publish it, just to show which telecom companies are stepping up and which are not.
Entonces la próxima etapa de esta campaña, ahora lo que estamos haciendo es mandando cartas a todos los diferentes compañías de telecom para pedirles para ver lo que nos dicen acerca de este tema y lo que van a hacer, y con la respuesta que nos dan lo vamos a publicar en nuestro sitio de red y también en el sitio y también en cualquier periódico que nos dé.
And actions coming up soon.
Y también muchas acciones rápidas también que vamos a hacer.
Excellent.
That was moved by Marva. Marva was keen on getting those letters out. That, all right.
That's great.
So the next campaign, so fair banking. We did a survey online and some paper copies to our members around how banks are pushing people to fringe lenders, both payday, installment, title loan companies. We're going to go over that again in more detail. Marcos, do you want to talk a bit about the survey?
Yeah, okay. Primero voy a hablar un poco acerca de nuestra campaña que se llama los bancos justos, más o menos se dice así, y que lo que estamos intentando hacer es que lo que hemos visto es que nuestros miembros tienen que usar lo que se llaman como bancos alternativos, que son como se dice en el del predatory lending, los usuarios.
Usureros.
Los usureros y que realmente están empujando porque los bancos no están dando los mismos servicios a las poblaciones de menos recursos. And so with regard to entonces lo que hemos hecho es un sondaje a nuestros miembros para crear un reporte. So with regard to the survey, we put together a survey, a pretty basic survey of 20 questions. We thought they were pretty important questions to kind of understand a bit better what the situation is. And we've gotten a really good response back so far. You know, we sent it out, the first time around that we sent it out, we got over 150 responses from members. And right now we pushed that up to about 250 responses, 260 responses.
What's the deadline on that?
There is, at the moment,
I'm getting to that.
Yeah. So right now we're looking pretty good in terms of, we have in the afternoon, should I give the surveys now or?
No, we're gonna have a whole, this is a report.
So we're gonna talk in the afternoon a bit more about it, where I have copies of the actual survey and some of the responses, and it's, it's pretty great. It's great information, so I think we have a pretty strong base of answers to be able to move forward with a great report, and it's pretty exciting. Entonces lo que hemos hecho es, con el sondaje, la primera vez que lo mandamos a nuestros miembros, en todas las veces tenemos con más de 250 personas que respondieron al sondaje. Entonces lo que tenemos es una buena base para empezar a crear un reporte un poco más, un reporte amplio, un reporte importante acerca de este tema, y ese reporte lo vamos a crear nosotros no sabemos cuándo vamos a empezar.
So the moving pieces around this are, so the Bank Act is opening up in 2019. In the shorter term, they're looking at evaluating their consumer protection framework. Despite the fact, I phoned them like 4 times trying to get like a timeline on that. And
Who's that and who'd you call?
the Ministry of Finance. So they're swirling around on that. They're really interested in our survey results. Me and Giselle went and talked with them right before the board meeting around what they're doing. They're kind of squirrely. But they are going to be looking into, getting ready to do the Bank Act review in 2019, which is a long way off, but, gives us a long time to fight and push for really specific changes as we move forward. The board wanted to do an action, have the report done by, they said, mid-July. So I'm thinking that, arguably we can hopefully get this done though and do it mid-August before we lose the summer students, because then that would plug nicely into a National Day of Action that we can have Winnipeg, Calgary, Nova Scotia, Montreal might be tough, and then everyone else kind of participate in a National Day of Action around the report around fair banking and stopping predatory lending. So that's kind of my deadline. The other piece there is the CCPA has offered to partner to actually write the report with us, which will be cool.
Entonces, en este momento, acerca de esta campaña, tenemos un par de pedazos que están ayudando a avanzar las cosas. Entonces, número uno, en el 2019 va a haber una revisión federal del acto bancario, que se trata de hacer cambios al sistema bancario. Entonces, Judy y una de las líderes se encontraron con uno de los burócratas que está ahí trabajando sobre esto, alguien bastante alto en el sistema y en el ministerio financiero, y en este momento ellos están muy interesados en nuestro programa y lo que hemos hecho acerca de este sondaje. Le gusta ver las respuestas. Entonces no sabemos a dónde va a ir con eso, y la otra parte también es acerca de Que el sondaje nos va a ayudar a trabajarlo un grupo que hace todo tipo de reporte, entonces nos va a ayudar a poder crear este reporte y nos va a dar mucho más, ¿cómo se dice?, visibilidad, si no, ellos nos ayudan.
So we can talk more about this in this afternoon, but I know some of the offices want to do more paper copies and stuff, but one option too is to maybe do a supplemental follow-up report that's maybe more focused on like installment title loans to like follow up this if we want to like stretch out getting paper copies, do another one online, whatever, we can talk about options later.
And it's also a possibility to take some of the information from that one to create 2 different reports,
Right.
which is also a possibility.
John.
Entonces, sí, lo que vamos a hacer ahora, queremos encontrar maneras, hay otras posibilidades para lo que estamos haciendo el sondaje es a través de internet, pero podemos hacerlo a través de papel también, entonces estamos en ese momento ahora.
And then just quickly on housing, we're relooking at our national housing demands, trying to get a meeting with the minister. We've sent a couple letters, not getting a lot of response, so we need to kind of relook at that and maybe put a little more pressure on to kind of start moving that at some point soon. Board's keen on that.
Y la tercera campaña nacional acerca de la vivienda, de las casas. Estamos ahora intentando de hablar con los políticos y el ministerio y los ministros federales para sentarnos a hablar con ellos, pero ellos realmente no nos han respondido, hasta ahora no han respondido a nuestras cartas, en nuestras invitaciones para reunirnos.
Cool, so nationally, that's a quick summary. Shall we go west to east?
Should we start in BC then?
Yeah.
I know Canadian
Other than that, it's
You want to
according to Ben.
What's that?
Maybe you want to introduce yourself? Does everybody know each other? I guess you probably know everybody.
I think he's rooming with some of them. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, just so they
Good
know you're
idea.
from BC.
Okay. So I'm Scott. I'm the organizer. I'm an organizer with Marcos up in BC. I don't know what else to say about myself. So Marcos, how would you introduce me to the people? Because why am I saying this?
I think we always say BC, BC, BC.
Scott es el organizador de British Columbia, entonces él es head organizer en British Columbia.
Hey, Newell.
Alright. And so in BC so far we have 97 full members with 6 renewal bank drafts or bank draft renewals. 178 associates for $2,033, 921 provisionals. We've had 44 events for 699 members turned out to these events, 31 press hits. Our canvas program, about like $2,900 raised so far, canvas-wise, and 4 golden eggs for $85. So that's a summary of our numbers.
Hold on. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want me to repeat anything that you can, because I'm guessing
I think I
you
got
wrote
it down.
down.
I got
He
it.
memorized it.
Entonces lo que tenemos ahora en este momento tenemos 97 miembros completos que pagan la membresía, 178 miembros asociados que han hecho donaciones de 2,000. How much was the associates? 2,000 the total.
2033.
$2,000 con $2,033. 921 provisionales, miembros provisionales que son los miembros que no dan nada. 44 eventos, 699 gente que han participado en esos 44 eventos, 31 31 veces mencionado en los diarios, menciones en los diarios, y en donaciones hemos levantado $2,900 con 4 donaciones recurrentes que dan mensualmente.
Okay. So campaigns, I'll start provincially. The political lay of the land in BC right now is that we are now less than a year out from a provincial election. So we are starting to put together, or start to think about the demands that we'll have for the provincial election. So our healthy homes, our housing provincial demands aren't together yet. That's something we're going to develop in the summertime, and then have like a really hard focus on housing in the fall going into the winter. The provincial campaign that's had the most profile so far is the disability campaign. In February, the provincial government announced that they were going to raise disability rates for the first time in almost 10 years, but at the same time they announced that they were going to start charging people on disability $52 a month for a bus pass that used to cost folks $45 a year. So that basically negated the raise in the rates from $77 a month to $25 a month, $11 for some people. I'm not going to get into the details there, but Marcos, do you want to?
Ya, entonces en British Columbia, en términos de las campañas provinciales, estamos trabajando en un par que tienen un poco de perfil, pero el año que viene va a ser una elección en el país, entonces una elección en la provincia de British Columbia, y el plan es de este verano realmente concretizar, no sé si se dice así, nuestras demandas acerca de la vivienda, acerca del alojamiento. Y la otra campaña que ha tenido mucha publicidad es nuestra campaña sobre los derechos de la gente con disabilidad, que es en British Columbia hay un programa de welfare social que te dan un poco de plata a la gente con disabilidad, entonces no han aumentado ese pequeño sueldo en más de 10 años, y finalmente hicieron la decisión de aumentar los 75, 77 dólares, pero en realidad han hecho un cambio con el sistema, entonces realmente no son 77 dólares, son como 20 dólares.
Wow.
Entonces más o menos hicieron un pequeño truco al público.
Now, we had the foresight, the amazing foresight to know that the Liberals weren't going to do anything for disability going into the budget reading, so we had already planned to have an action a week after the budget was read, just figuring that they weren't going to do anything, we'll have a hot issue. We didn't realize that they were going to do something like this that actually kind of made it like really highlighted. You know, if they just did nothing, the issue wouldn't have got any attention, but they did this, trying to make themselves look good, but then really just kind of backfired on them. So we ended up having the biggest disability action in the 4 years that I've been in BC. 100 people at least turned out to the action. We didn't get much press coverage on it, unfortunately, but it was still like the people who came out were really like fired up and everything like that. The leadership on the disability issue was really excited. We then, because this issue is so big, all these other organizations that usually don't take action on anything have now started to kind of come out of the woodwork. So now we're working on this campaign with these other groups. There is another organization in BC that actually takes action, holds rallies and everything, called Raise the Rates. So we had a 100-person action, then we turned out a bunch of people to their action the following month, and then we turned out a bunch of people to another organization called Inclusion BC's action, and now we have another action ourselves planned in June. So a lot of organizations coming together on this. This Inclusion BC people are kind of actually going to be painful. They've hired an organizer now to organize. You know, we have these conference calls, everyone calls in, right? And now this organizer is like telling us what he thinks we should be doing, because he has well-placed sources in the provincial government. So when I told everyone that we're doing our action on the 28th, he was like, oh, well, what sort of action is it going to be? Oh, well, I think, right now is not the best time to really push the Liberals. We want to, work with them, don't really make them look bad. And like, those guys. So anyway, so Faith, hire this guy.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, so-
I didn't realize that was the conversation.
And this guy's an organizer, a
Liberal
writer.
hack.
Yeah, basically. And he says, we should be organizing just in case things, don't go our way later, but right now we need to be working with them, So that just makes me kind of want to have a more aggressive action. But,
That's right. We're going past 100 now.
yeah.
Entonces lo que está pasando con esa campaña es que la campaña de hace años que estamos trabajando en una campaña de derechos de la gente que tiene disabilidades y de aumentar el pequeño sueldo que le dan por mes, y nosotros sabíamos que no le iban a aumentar el sueldo este año con el nuevo préstamo, ¿cómo se dice? Cada año hacen el budget, el presupuesto. Sabíamos que no iban a aumentar, entonces nosotros habíamos planificado una manifestación para unos días después, para decir que no hicieron nada acerca de la accesibilidad. Entonces este cambio que hicieron, que más o menos hicieron un truco al público, lo usamos en esta campaña. Tuvimos como una acción de como más de 100 personas que vinieron al centro, fue sumamente bien. Toda esta otra organización empezaron a trabajar con nosotros y estábamos todos trabajando en esto, y parece que en este momento nuestros miembros quisieran hacer una manifestación el 28 de este mes. Pero lo que pasó es, bueno, no ha pasado nada, vamos a seguir con eso.
Yeah, it's on. Okay.
Pero lo que está pasando ahora es que uno de los organizadores de la otra campaña, del otro grupo, dijeron que no, este no es un buen momento para hacer una acción porque queremos trabajar con el gobierno acerca de esto, y nuestros miembros no les importa un carajo acerca de los liberales y del gobierno, entonces vamos a seguir con nuestra acción igualmente.
Okay, that's the other battery ready.